Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the 71st episode of the Tango Banter. I'm Yelizaveta, your host, and today we're going to be doing something a little different. A few months ago, I decided that in addition to doing a weekly podcast episode, I was going to do a live discussion inside my private Facebook group. This was a way for me to connect with dancers in real time and get more perspectives on certain issues. Gradually, I began to realize that these live sessions were full of insights that I wouldn't have come up with on my own. And I was beginning to develop a much wider perspective on certain issues. So, with this episode, I decided to experiment, and instead of my regular format, I'm sharing a recording of one of these live sessions where, in addition to my own thoughts, I respond to comments and questions that people were posting in real time. I'm curious how you like this format and would love your feedback on your listening experience. In addition, if you would like to join these live sessions that happen on a weekly basis, you are more than welcome to join my Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. For this particular live session, I had a question that I posed inside the group, which was, what kind of skills do we have to develop to succeed in tango? The reason why I posed that question was because, as we all know, tango is tough, and many people either start and quit very quickly, or they might start and dance for a little while, but then they fade out, or they just don't even attempt trying in the first place. So I was curious what other dancers thought on this topic. And so we discussed both the frequent obstacles that dancers face when entering tango and the skill sets we have to develop in order to stick with it. I hope you find this discussion useful and hopefully encouraging. So please enjoy. Today's banter is all about the skills that we develop in tango, whether they be social skills, technical skills, life skills. We all come in to tango having to sort of face our lack in certain ways and then develop ourselves in order to stick with the dance. And different people have different skill sets that they have to develop. We have different backgrounds that we're bringing into tango. So most of the comments that I got back had to do either with more of sort of maturity, emotional maturity, learning to come out of your shell and not be so shy, and perhaps stomach rejection, learn to be okay with rejection. So a lot of the answers revolved around that. Some of you talked about the skill of listening to the music, of actually hearing the music and learning to appreciate the subtleties of it and the history of it and the culture of it. Others talked about more physical and technical aspects. A lot of people who come into tango, they might not actually have any background in dance. And I think that's probably the biggest obstacle to people starting tango. When I think about why not more people try tango, because a lot of people really like it, they see it, and they are very inspired by it. I think there's this general sense that to dance tango, you have to be like already a dancer of some kind. Like you have to have the talent, or you have to have some sort of ability that's extraordinary, that's not normal, and most people are like, oh, I'm too normal for this, like I wouldn't be able to do this. And most of the time it comes out as something like, oh, I have two left feet, I don't have a rhythmic bone in my body, or whatever the saying is. Yeah, they think it's a complex dance and they're like, I would never, I think that's really the biggest obstacle for most of us. Like most people that don't dance tango don't realize that every single person who starts tango feels that way. Like it feels that way for everyone. And the big insight is that tango is actually sort of meant to be danced by everyone. It's by the people for the people. It's a form of art or language, physical language, a system that was created by social dancers dancing it. So social tango in particular, I think as a whole is very resistant to specializing to rules of like how it's supposed to be, because ultimately social tango survives by normal regular people dancing it, people with health issues, with mobility issues, with age issues, with emotional issues, like normal people with their own problems who get on the dance floor and find a way to dance this dance. Like that's really what social tango is. And that's the big aha moment. Like once you start dancing, you realize, wow, most people who are dancing it, they have nothing, no background in movement a lot of times, no dance background, no musical background, a lot of engineers, a lot of scientists, a lot of writers. So to me, that's kind of the barrier that prevents most people from trying tango. They automatically think that they can't do it. And I think when we start, sometimes people start and they're really gung ho and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to start this thing called tango. It's going to be awesome, and they start and then they like hit a wall and they realize all of a sudden they're in over their head, or they have a bad experience, or it's not as great as they thought it was going to be at first, or they're not as good as they thought they were going to be at first, whatever. So their ego gets bruised, or they start already experiencing like this, like, oh my God, this is so hard. And so at some point tango is going to bring up this challenge, and we all have to develop these skills to stick with it, right? When I asked myself what was the skill set that was sort of the first one that really was pivotal for me as a dancer, I started thinking about, I kind of went back and thought about what that arc was for me, developing first, starting tango and then going to Buenos Aires, right? So first time in Buenos Aires, and being this person who, is so scared. Oh my God, I'm going to go to the Milonga. Nobody's going to ask me to dance. Oh, it was so scary. I remember the very first Milonga. I go there and I spent hours sitting just plastered against the wall. And it was this space where at one of the walls, there was just like one row of tables and chairs, and I'm just sitting there. And I was mortified. And then, so I was in this state of like, oh, just anyone, please just ask me to dance. I'm just so embarrassed about having to sit here and people can see that nobody's dancing with me. And it was just this like cringy feeling. So being very much in that state of like, oh my God, anyone, please just ask me to dance. And so then I started getting dances, and I actually did get a dance that night. And I remember it's like the very first stranger who asks me to dance in Buenos Aires. Like I'm a brand new dancer. I just got my first pair of heels ever. And here I am waiting to see, like, I'm all nervous. I'm so stressed. I'm thinking it's never going to happen. And then this guy asks me to dance. And I remember it being uncomfortable, but also remembering thinking like, am I doing it right? Is this the way it's supposed to feel? Like, is this it? Like all these questions, right? And so obviously, things progressed and I started getting more dances, right? More and more dances. And then I realized it's actually not that hard to get a dance in Buenos Aires as a woman. At least at that point, it was just sort of like, oh, there are so many dancers here, and there's so many foreigners, and especially the places that we were going were very tourist oriented. So there were a lot of tourists who are sort of in the same boat as everyone else. Everybody wants to dance. And I started getting asked a lot, a lot. And I remember this transition from feeling like, oh my God, am I going to get dances? Am I, that nervousness, to becoming this person's like, man, I just have to say no. I have to say no. It's too much. This is sort of unrelenting. It's just constant capacea, constantly people coming up and asking me to dance. And so my first skill set that I really had to drill was learning to say no, because it was very uncomfortable to feel this like pressure that I had to, you know, constantly be dancing with people. I realized that I actually don't like that. Like, there's all these things I learned about myself, and it's so funny about life in general. That happens a lot, right? You think you really want something specific, and then you get it, and you're like, oh, actually, man, there's something else. It's not actually this. It's something different. And I think that's an important distinction. I was thinking while I was pondering what I was going to say today. I was thinking about this distinction that I hear from people who say, I'm not getting enough dances. I'm not getting enough dances. And people complain about that sometimes, a lot of times women complaining. But, I wonder how many times it is really that we're not getting enough dances versus we're not getting enough dances that we want. I think there is that distinction, because for a lot of people, you can get as many dances as you possibly could if you just dance with everyone. But I think there is a place in us as dancers where we get to this level that's very necessary, where we're kind of like, okay, I know what I like. I'm not going to just say yes to anything. And what I really want is to dance with people like this. And we have our own preferences, right? And we develop our own taste. And I had to do that very quickly, because it was really stressful to handle that kind of attention. And that skill set really served me really well in tango, because I eventually, I had relationships within tango with tango partners, and a lot of these like emotionally connected situations that I constantly had to learn how to draw boundaries, how to push back, how to say no. And the biggest way that I experienced this was the last time I was there, because I went as a single woman this time. This was my first time to go to Buenos Aires as a single woman. And it was a fantasy of mine, because the last two times I went, I had boyfriends, and a lot of my attention was really spent with my partners. And so I, wanted that fulfillment of like, ooh, what is it like to go to Buenos Aires as a single woman and have my fun and connect with people and party, and that was my question, that was my exploration. So I went, and whatever it was that I needed to validate in myself about like whether I was as good as somebody else, or was I attractive enough? Like there was something in me that I just sort of needed to confirm externally. Like I very quickly got that. And once again, I realized like, wow, it's this drive to get the attention of certain people and get them to like you, and so that you can get a dance with them. Like that whole energy is not all what it's cracked up to be. Like in the end, it's a lot more about what you want. It's very specific. It's not just about like just getting attention from dancers. And a lot of people there had very specific intentions with me. They really wanted that sort of intimacy and connection. And I got, people really approaching me, and I had to like really keep pushing back and practicing that like, no, Absolutely not. I'm only going to go to this point. I'm only going to go to this point. So there was that skill set for me that was really key. That I think if I didn't develop it, I probably would get quite burnt by tango. A lot of people pointed out skill sets that have to do with social skills too. And I do think that tango in particular is an interesting place to develop those skills because it's so tough. A lot of times, the people that I talk to who get into tango frequently will tell me that they're introverts, that they have OCD, they've had depression or anxiety, panic attacks, illness. It's interesting that frequently the people who are in tango are people who do have some sort of social anxiety or social difficulty. And I was that person too. And definitely things like being able to have small talk, right? Like knowing how to small talk, knowing how to introduce myself to someone or have a conversation or read body language or how to deal with uncomfortable situations or awkward situations. Those skills were really important to develop. And it wasn't easy. And I think that's another, maybe the second thing that prevents people from either entering tango or leaving tango, is just not knowing what to do among other people. And it's understandable. We're not really taught that. Growing up, I was never given any sort of textbook on interpersonal skills and how to be friends with people and how to create meaningful connections. And over the years, I've also heard people say like that tango taught them how to hug. Tango taught them how to touch. When I first even felt that sensation from a stranger, it was like, whoa, that's so weird. So a lot of us grow up not really experiencing that from anyone except our closest people in our family. A lot of times for men, it's like the skill of holding a woman, the skill of leading and being a leader and understanding what that is for them. And for women, it's a lot about posture. I very quickly realized how profound the posture is for not just dancing, but for how people read me. I've heard a friend of mine too, I remember having a conversation with him about this, that he said when he started tango, one of the things that really drew him is how beautiful the women became when they took on the tango posture. And what he was describing is that when you go for the embrace, you have to lift up. There's this grace that comes over the body. And he was commenting how typically you see that posture in the embrace, and very frequently the embrace comes apart after the song. And a lot of times for dancers, especially for women, there will be this kind of sinking and they'll be adjusting. I do that, adjusting clothing, but a lot of times it's this closing off and perhaps a somewhat of a discomfort of keeping this elevated posture without dancing, right? Which is, I found that in myself. Like I found that for a long time it was uncomfortable for me to like just stand up straight when I'm at the grocery store or sit up straight if I'm not dancing. It was very like, people are going to think I'm weird if I do this. It was sort of, there's like too much exposure. But as I listened to him talk, I thought, wow, what a profound impact it has. For him, it was like he was so attracted just to that action of a change in posture, and that he really noticed that. So I thought, I bet a lot of people notice it. And so I decided I was really going to watch that in myself. And man, I try. We all try to watch our posture. It's something I think, especially for women, we talk about, and it comes up a lot, and we always want to improve it. For men too. I mean, men I think about their posture as well, but I guess I talk to women more about this. And sometimes, people will comment on my posture and compliment me, but still, from time to time, I'll see a picture online. Somebody took a picture of me dancing or something or standing, and I'm like, why? Why do I do that? Why am I holding my head forward? And it's a constant, that's like a skill that I feel gets honed over the years. Like you can't really get it right away. It has to be something that we just sort of work on over and over every day. Okay, let's see what else. Let's see what else you guys have to say. The biggest barrier for male leaders is that it's so hard and you're failing in front of literally in the arms of the opposite sex. There's an added romantic humiliation that you need to work through. Oh, I hear you. I hear you. It is not easy for guys. It's not, okay? And speaking from observing two of my partners in Tango, two different boyfriends, relationships, going to Buenos Aires and having to enter the dance floor and compete with these tangueros who have all this machismo, and it's very difficult. And there's a lot of pressure to perform. I definitely see that as an obstacle for men that they have to kind of overcome. But, at the end of the day, learning to trust that you yourself are enough. I've had to come to that place as a dancer that, like, I'm not the best dancer. Not everybody's going to want to dance with me, but if I can just focus on being myself as in the dance and trust that that will be enough for certain people. I think when I feel that from other dancers, there's a certain ease that they have with themselves where they're just sort of like resigned, perhaps. They're like, you know what, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. And sometimes that attitude is the thing that actually is the attractive thing to me. And now as a dancer, when I feel that from another dancer, it's just like not trying to impress, right? Because that's the hook there. Like when you're describing this emotion for guys, when they're, it's this image that you're drawing, failing in front of and in the arms of the opposite sex, right? Like when you're feeling that, and what is the knee-jerk reaction to that feeling? It is to perform, to do something better, to get better, to make mistakes happen less, to perfect your dance. And there's this drive to make yourself better and better so that you don't fail, right? But I think to me at this point, it's like, just go ahead and fail. Like ultimately we're all going to fail. It's all failing all the time. It's always failing our ambition, our expectations. So sometimes the decision is like, if you're going to fail good. Go ahead and bomb it. Sometimes like that helps. That's to me, that became a tool sometimes that I actually used it recently because I danced with this follower who's this professional level dancer. I really admire her movement. And I just was like, oh, I've been waiting to dance with her for years. And I take the embrace and I all of a sudden realize that I have no idea how to lead her. She has such different mechanics than what I expected or how I move. And so I'm realizing like, wow, number one, I don't know if she's really likes dancing with me because I lead so differently from her current partner that she dances with. Number two, I don't know if I'm enjoying it because I feel so insecure and I'm definitely like failing a lot. Like I'm not leading correctly or able to like keep my cool. And so within that, I was like, I know that I probably will never dance with this person again. There was a feeling in me like, I probably will never ask her again. She's probably not going to ask me. So I was like, since this is the only time we're going to dance, I'm really going to go for it. If I'm going to really bomb it, I'm really going to bomb it. And the song, the tanda that was playing, the song is my least favorite song. I hate this song. I'm not going to tell you what it is right now, but I hate this song. So it's the song that I hate. I'm dancing with this woman. I feel like a total poser. Like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And, that was my decision, was just to be like, okay, I'm going to really fail here. I'm going to really go for it. And it ended up being a really cool Tonda. It's not like I'm going to sign up for it again anytime soon, but it was cool. It was cool what happened. I appreciated what happened for me as a dancer. There was a really interesting experience that I remember. It's memorable. So that was a good payoff, I think. All right, everybody, let's see what else you guys are saying. Sometimes I see images of myself and feel so ungraceful and embarrassed how I look compared to how I felt when dancing. I'm grateful when others say I looked beautiful and maybe need to concentrate on how we felt versus just looks. Yet, there's an image and quality I wish to embody, and so have been wondering about whether to seek video feedback more. I think it's a really good idea to film yourself dancing. I'm just going to say it. Like, not to show to anyone, but to see it yourself. I find that it's so profound, just because even think about doing it right now. And I'm sure some of you are like, ugh, no, I hate seeing myself dance. Like, just the emotion that comes with it. A lot of times that's a symptom that it's a gold mine, right? When we feel that kind of resistance. And it's true. I find that when I watch myself dance, the first videos that I ever shot of myself dancing, I cried. I felt so ugly. Oh, I don't know why I had even the drive to film myself dance, but for years I would just make videos of myself and I'd just be like, ugh. But I kept doing it. And what I did notice that I would watch dancers that I really loved and I wanted to emulate. And then I would dance myself and I would basically hate what I was seeing. So there's that contrast, like, oh, look at this person. They're so beautiful. Ugh, look at me. It's so ugly. But I kept doing it partially because there was a skill I was trying to develop, which is that what you imagine you're doing, you're actually doing. Is that not a useful skill in movement? How many of you have experienced this where you think you're dancing a certain way and you feel all this expression, right? You're like, oh my God, this pugliese, I'm really showing the colors of this pugliese. And then you see yourself and you're like, wow, where's all that expression? I'm actually barely moving. I'm actually barely showing it. So one of my challenges for myself was to reconcile in my mind what it is that I'm feeling like I'm doing and actually what I'm doing. So when I started experimenting more with filming myself, over time, I started getting these moments where like, oh, that actually looks like what I was feeling. And those moments start happening more and more the more you do it. You seeing yourself, seeing that you're not what you thought you were, you're not doing what you thought you were doing, right? Just recognizing that. And then moving on and then doing it again and again. And I think with time, your artistic eye, your visual system, your nervous system, they start lining up to where now a lot of times I'll watch myself dance and I'll see the influence of the dancers that I've been putting up on a pedestal. So I do recommend that as a strategy. It's a really great exercise. It's difficult to do, but here's what I would recommend. If you do it, don't watch the video right away. That's been something I did for myself. That's a true gift because I remember I got together with Eve and I had this certain project I was going to film and I was like, I don't want to do it. It's going to suck. I'm not ready. I don't have what I need. And then I was like, you know what? I said I would do it. So we did it. And we both were like, blah, not really feeling it. We were very uninspired, but I was like, let's just do this, So we recorded it and then I just forgot about it. And I felt so blah about it that I was like, whatever, I don't even want to think about this concept anymore. But then a few weeks later, I came back to the video just randomly and I watched and I was like, wow, that's so cool. This is actually really good. So, your mind can kind of lie to you when you first see it right after, depending on how you feel. So I typically make it a practice to just film myself dance, forget about it, and then watch it maybe a day or two later. And it always looks better. There's always more things that I like about it than I dislike. And there is that place. Eventually, you look at yourself and you're like, huh, not bad. And that's a really great place to come to on your own, not based on other people's feedback. It's other people can compliment you, and that's really nice, but that's not really the true source of your satisfaction. The true source of your satisfaction is when you yourself look at a video of yourself objectively and you go, you know what? That's actually good. I don't care if anybody else likes it, but I like it. And I'm proud that I got here myself. Nobody else approved this. So that's my suggestion on that. There's the subjective part of the dance and there's the objective part of the dance. There's, kind of like how we feel about ourselves. And then there's actually how we look. And I think we sort of muddle them together. They're sort of kind of intertwined for us. We don't quite separate the two. A lot of times we don't like what we see and we're like, oh my God, I suck. I am such a terrible dancer. Look at my feet. It's like we throw out the baby out with the bathwater instead of saying, oh, okay, this is the next thing I need to work on. Oh, I still don't have this. Okay, I need to pay attention. This is my next little project right here. I'm going to work on my head not being forward too much. We're kind of like get down on ourselves. And that's also a block. And that's a skill, right? Another skill set to learn to be more objective about your dance if your dance is a form of your art expression, right? For some people, dancing tango is very much just like a social activity. It's a hobby. They go, they dance. They don't really invest a lot of time in thinking about lines and growing as a dancer. And I really, really don't like when teachers or dancers make it seem like that's a wrong place to be. Like that's not a wrong place to be. Like if you're happy with your dance and you're getting what you want, good for you. I want to be where you are. Like I want to be getting exactly what I want. It just so happens that I and a lot of people that I talk to, a lot of dancers in the community, they also have this artistic side to them. They want to actually express. They want to be beautiful. They want to express something with their dance. They want to feel that aesthetic be present in their dance. And that's a very valid place to be. So if you have that intention to take that as something that you really deserve to have, you really can and should have that if you want it. The best way to get it that I found, because I wanted that. I keep talking about this moment when one of my teachers said, you feel great, but you have no lines. And I was like, what? What the hell does that mean? I was so mad. And it took me years to figure out what he even meant. So it bothered me enough that I started looking for a way to figure out what my lines were. What do I want to look like when I dance? What kind of energy do I want to bring in? First, I had to figure out the posture issue, right? Posture for following, posture for leading. For leading, it's slightly different dynamics because I'm the support. So I had to modify my posture to become more stable, right? But once I had that figured out, then it was the question of like, well, what's my stylization? How do I want to come across? Like, what's my signature? How does my body actually want to show up? And then beyond that is like, well, how does it show up for every orchestra? And which orchestras does it like and not like? There's all these different ways we can pursue the development of that side of ourselves. And for some people, they need that, they want that. And other people, it's not necessarily an area of interest for them, and that's fine too. So, all right, everybody. So let's see if we're going to wrap up this discussion. I wonder if improving the look of it can mess up the feeling of it. Yeah, actually, that can totally happen. Yeah, Christos, I think you're right. Sometimes I had this feedback from leaders and it drove me nuts because I was so confused. I would dance with certain leaders and they would give me some feedback, and then other leaders would give me different feedback. But one of the pieces of feedback I kept getting from time to time from one of my leaders, friends that I kept dancing with, he's like, stop thinking about the way it looks, or stop trying to make the shape happen. Let go of preconceived notion of what it's supposed to look like. And I understand what he wanted out of me at that point, but I didn't understand how to do that while still retaining my lines, right? And that's ultimately what you have to negotiate. You know, in yoga, a lot of times this is the misunderstanding, right? People say, like, I'm not flexible, I can't do yoga. But it's like, that's what you do yoga for. And the principle of yoga is you take a shape and you apply that shape to your body, to your structure. And you have to mold the shape according to your body's availability to what can happen. So you are doing the shape, but it doesn't have to look like exactly the way you perceive somebody else doing it. It will look like yours. It just has to have integrity within it. And I think in tango it's the same way. And it's tricky to get to that understanding that yes, we have all these movements. We have ochos and we have posture for back step and forward step, and we have our foot articulation, and we have our baleo technique, and we have all these shapes that we have in our minds as danced by professional dancers. But then we have to realize that that shape applied to our body might mean something very different, right? And it's the beauty of how you integrate that shape into your body and show that shape according to what is available and what is integrated in your body that reads to us as beautiful. That's why you can watch somebody who has a very conservative dance and does things very small, and you can be like, wow, their dance is so beautiful. And at the same time, you can watch somebody who's doing a lot of big movements and they look kind of like meh. And it's because sometimes I can see the strain in the body. I can see that the body is being pushed in a direction that is strenuous, and that tension is what I see. And so to me, it's like, ugh, that does not look as beautiful. So it's definitely that yin yang sort of conundrum that everybody has to feel. Like, what is it for you to both understand what the shape that you're going for and doing it in a way that's really present with your partner and integrated in your own mechanics and really connects to the music. It's a tall order, right? It's so complex, but we find it. It's there. It's there. It's not something that you have to make up. It's not something you have to create. It's something you have to discover because the body is sort of primed for that. We just have to reconnect with it naturally, I think. All right, everybody. So thanks so much for joining. We'll see you next week. Ciao.